May God bless your day today, and may He deeply bless your entire week ahead. Welcome to this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
So today we have a really fascinating topic, and I want
Yeah.
you to just, imagine standing on the jagged peak of a desert mountain.
Oh, that's a great way to picture it.
Right. You're looking down into a vast, arid valley, and spread out below you isn't just some chaotic crowd of refugees.
No, not at all.
It's actually a hyper-militarized, perfectly symmetrical encampment of over 600,000 people. It's basically a masterclass in ancient strategy and visual storytelling.
It really is stunning when you actually visualize it.
It is. And our mission today is to explore Numbers chapter 2. We're relying on the detailed historical notes from the Holman and the Novel Meta Actualizada, or NAA, study Bibles.
Yeah, those two resources are fantastic for unpacking this.
They really are, because, at first glance, this text is, well, it has a reputation.
It certainly does. I mean, when you hear the word numbers, you naturally expect a spreadsheet, basically.
Like an ancient accounting document.
Exactly. And if you just skim chapter 2, that's what it looks like. It's just lists of tribal names, camping coordinates in the desert, and head counts.
Just a lot of data.
Yeah, a lot of data. For a lot of readers, it feels like the part of the ancient record you're just, supposed to politely skip over to get back to the actual story.
Yeah, the action parts. But that's exactly why we are stopping to look closely at it today for you listening. Because what the study notes reveal is that this chapter it's actually a highly visual, deeply theological blueprint.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much more than a list.
Right. We're talking about cosmic order, ancient military tactics, and honestly, the intense human drama of who gets the seat of honor.
Yeah, the politics of the camp layout.
Exactly. So let's go back to that mountain peak. When you look down at a perfectly designed, massive geometric layout like that, where does your eye naturally gravitate to first?
We'll go straight to the center.
Right. The center just anchors the whole thing.
Yeah, and in ancient Near Eastern architecture, the center dictates why everything else is where it is. It's the core.
So what's at the core here?
At the exact center of this Israelite encampment is the tabernacle.
Also known as the tent of meeting, right?
Exactly. This was the physical focal point of God's presence on earth for them. But the text makes it clear that the tabernacle doesn't just sit there, exposed to everyone.
Oh, it's definitely not just open to the public.
No, the sources highlight a very specific, carefully guarded buffer zone immediately surrounding it. And this zone is occupied entirely by the Levites.
Okay, so the Levites are basically the inner circle.
Yes. The notes specify this includes the clans of Gershon, Kohath, Merari, and then, of course, Moses, Aaron, and the priests.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. The Levites are basically acting like a divine Secret Service detail.
That's a really good analogy.
Right. But the study notes point out something kind of mind-blowing. Their primary job isn't just to keep intruders out to protect the VIP.
Right, which is how we normally think of security guards.
Exactly. But it's actually the reverse. They are there to protect the crowd, the lay people, from the overwhelming lethal power of the VIP.
Yes. They're protecting the citizens from God's wrath if they approach the holy space in an unauthorized way.
I mean, it implies proximity to the divine was seen as physically dangerous. It's kind of like radiation or something.
It very much was. The holiness of God in this cultural context, it's portrayed as this pure, localized, and overwhelmingly powerful energy source.
So for the average Israelite, was that a comforting presence or a terrifying one?
Well, it was profoundly both. I mean, it is life-giving, but it is lethal if approached without the proper ritual preparation.
Wow.
So the Levites, they are essentially the insulation. They prevent a catastrophic short circuit between the divine and the mundane.
That is so intense. But beyond just the spiritual mechanics, the NAA study notes bring in a really fascinating historical parallel here.
Oh, the Ramses connection, yes.
Yeah. Talk about that, because this layout, a supreme leader in the absolute center, surrounded by an elite guard, they didn't just invent that in the desert, did they?
Far from it. This layout perfectly mirrors the strategic military camps of that specific era.
Like specifically Egyptian camps, right?
Exactly. Specifically the camps of Ramses II during his campaigns in Syria. This is right around 1275 to 1270 BC.
Which is exactly the time period we're talking about.
Right. And historical records, like the reliefs of the Battle of Kadesh, show Ramses doing this exact thing.
And Ramses claimed to be a living god.
Yes, a divine being. He would place his royal tent in the very center of a massive rectangular encampment.
Wow.
Then he was surrounded first by his elite shield bearers and then by his divisions of chariots and infantry on the outside.
Okay, so God is using an architectural language that this newly freed population already intimately understands.
Completely. They just left Egypt. They know exactly what a supreme divine king's camp looks like.
So by adopting this layout, the text is taking the symbol of their Egyptian oppressor and replacing the human pharaoh with the divine.
That is the core theological statement being made through the architecture. God is holding down the absolute center.
He's the true sovereign of their nation.
Exactly. And because that real estate is completely non-negotiable, it belongs to God, the geography of the rest of the camp becomes a masterclass in hierarchy.
Right, because if you can't be in the absolute center, you want the next best thing.
Which is the front of the line.
The vanguard.
Yeah.
So the notes mention a safe distance between the regular tribes and that Levitical buffer zone.
Yes, the Hebrew terms essentially translate to opposite or at a certain distance. There was a gap.
A respectful gap. But the most prestigious side of this massive square formation is the east, right?
Yes, the East. And we have to remember, in the ancient Near East, orientation was fundamentally different than ours today.
Because we orient our maps to the north.
Right, north is up for us. But they oriented their world to the east toward the sunrise.
Well, that makes sense. So east was forward.
Exactly. To face east was to look forward. And the notes specify that the east side was the direction where sacrifices and offerings were brought to the priests.
So it's basically the front door of the tabernacle.
It is the front door. It is the absolute highest seat of honor for a tribe to have.
Which brings us to the big drama of who gets that prime real estate.
The politics of the camp.
Right. According to the text, the eastern flank is assigned to the tribe of Judah, and they are flanked by the tribes of Issachar and Zebulun.
Yeah, and Judah's camp alone numbers 186,400 men.
That is a massive force, and they are given the role of the vanguard. When the nation breaks camp and marches, Judah goes first.
They lead the way.
But wait, I have a question here. Reuben is the biological firstborn of Jacob, right?
Yes, Reuben is the oldest.
So by ancient Near Eastern cultural standards, shouldn't he automatically inherit that vanguard VIP position? Why does he get bumped for Judah?
That is a vital tension in the text, and it's one the Holman notes explicitly address, actually.
Because it seems like ancient political favoritism.
Well, by every biological and cultural metric of the ancient world, you're right, Reuben should absolutely get the east side. The firstborn conventionally holds priority.
Right.
But the supplantation of the firstborn is a massive recurring theological theme in Hebrew history.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you see that everywhere in Genesis.
Exactly. The narrative consistently shows God bypassing biological seniority to choose someone else for his purposes.
Like Isaac being chosen over Ishmael.
Yes, or Jacob being chosen over his older brother Esau. And even later, Joseph's younger son Ephraim being blessed over Manasseh.
Oh, right. So here, Judah getting priority over Reuben is just another example of that pattern.
Precisely. To the ancient reader, this layout serves as a visual reminder that leadership isn't strictly dictated by birthright.
Or human traditions. It's a statement that biological hierarchy is secondary to divine election.
Yes, it is a physical manifestation of God choosing who will lead. And it sets up the future trajectory of the nation, because Judah will eventually become the royal tribe, the line of David.
That is so cool to see mapped out physically. But Reuben isn't completely marginalized, is he?
No. He is assigned to lead the southern flank. That includes the tribes of Simeon and Gad, numbering 151,450 men.
Okay, so they march second in the order, after Judah.
Right.
So we have this massive, highly visible formation, Judah on the east, Reuben on the south.
Right.
But visibility and honor are really only half of military strategy.
Yeah, the other half is logistics.
Right. How did they ensure total accountability and cohesive movement for a force this massive? Because they aren't just a stationary city.
No, they have to pack this whole thing up and move across a hostile desert.
Exactly. So how are the other tribes organized?
Well, the west side, which acts as the rear of the tabernacle, is led by Ephraim. That group includes Manasseh and Benjamin, numbering 108,100 men. And finally, the north side acts as the rear guard. That's led by Dan, with Asher and Naphtali, and they number 157,600.
So they are completely surrounding the center.
Yes, but notice why they are grouped this way. Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin are all biologically descended from Rachel.
Ah, the family trees.
Exactly. And Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun on the east are all descended from Leah. So the layout isn't random at all.
They're physically mapping out their family tree.
Right, to maintain unity They group familial clans together to prevent internal fracturing within this massive military structure.
That makes perfect sense. You group the people who already share deep blood ties, which naturally reinforces loyalty on the march.
Exactly.
So how does this massive city actually move?
The marching order rigidly preserves the camp order. Judah's group packs up and marches first.
The vanguard.
Then Reuben's group goes. But then, crucially, the tent of meeting and the Levites pack up and march right in the middle of the procession.
Oh, wow. So they don't lead from the absolute front.
No. After the sanctuary comes Ephraim, and finally Dan brings up the rear.
So whether they are completely stationary camping in the desert or marching in a line through it, the divine presence remains in the absolute center.
The physical center of gravity never shifts.
That is incredible. And, this isn't just a dusty, disorganized caravan. The NWA notes point out specific Hebrew words used here, like dagel, which means banners or standards.
Yes, and ototh, meaning insignias or signs.
Right. So every tribe rallied under specific flags or color schemes representing their ancestral houses.
The visual impact of that in a barren landscape would be staggering.
I mean, it sounds like a massive ancient Olympic opening ceremony, but executed with extreme military precision.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Hundreds of thousands of people, organized by distinct, vibrant banners, all arranged in perfect geometric relation to the sacred tent in the center.
It wasn't a chaotic mob at all. It was a highly organized, mobile civilization. Let's talk about the specific numbers that make up that massive force, because the sources point out something fascinating about how this data is presented.
Yeah, the numbers themselves are very significant.
Right. The grand total of all these armies, and again, explicitly excluding the Levites, who God commanded not to be counted in the military census, is recorded as exactly 603,550.
Right, 603,550 men of fighting age.
Now, in modern reading habits, we'd expect an editor to just write, refer to the previous chapter, because that exact number is a direct repetition from Numbers chapter 1, verse 46.
It is a word-for-word repetition of the data.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Is there a specific literary reason they obsess over repeating this exact 603,550 number instead of just rounding it off and saying about 600,000 guys?
There absolutely is.
What does that repetition do for the reader?
Well, the Holman notes explain that in ancient Hebrew narrative, repeating exact figures is not redundant. It's actually a literary device.
Like a structural pillar for the text.
Yes. By repeating the exact census number after describing the intricate layout of the camp, the author is demonstrating total accountability.
Oh, I see.
The text is saying every single one of those men counted in chapter 1 now has a specific ordained place in chapter 2.
Wow. So no one is lost in the transition from just being a census number to being part of a structured army.
Exactly. No one is out of place. It's a statement about absolute consistency and development in the broader story.
It's like double entry bookkeeping for ancient text. It proves the math works and the symmetry is perfectly preserved.
It's exactly what it's doing.
And, speaking of the preservation of the text itself, the end of OA notes highlight a fascinating scribal quirk hidden in this chapter.
Oh yeah, the scribal trivia. That sheds so much light on the actual transmission of these documents over millennia.
It really does. So in the list of tribal leaders, the text mentions a man named Eliasaph, and it says he is the son of Deuel. That's D-E-U-E-L. However, the NWA notes point out that if you cross-reference other ancient texts, or even different parts of the Bible, sometimes this exact same man is recorded as the son of Reuel, R-U-E-L.
Yes, with an R instead of a D.
And why does that happen?
Because the Hebrew letters for D, which is Dalet, and R, which is Resh, look incredibly similar in block text.
Oh, so they were easily confused by ancient scribes.
Incredibly easily. Dalet has a slightly sharper right angle, while Resh is a bit more rounded.
And I imagine a scribe working by lamplight, copying a massive scroll by hand. It's easy to see how you could blur that top corner.
Absolutely. It doesn't change the theological meaning of the passage at all, but it leaves this little human fingerprint on the document.
I love that. It reminds you, this isn't just a fable that fell out of the sky. This was a document managed by real people in real time.
It bridges the gap between this grand, divine blueprint radiating holiness and the tired, diligent scribes who worked for centuries to preserve it for us.
It grounds the text in history. So when we step back and synthesize this entire tapestry, I mean, we have the Ramsey-style camp layout, mapping out sovereignty. We have the family tree groupings preserving unity.
Right.
We have Judah visually representing divine election over biological birthright, and the exact head count proving total accountability.
It's a lot of layers.
It is. So what is the ultimate point? What is the overarching message the ancient author wanted the reader to take away from this blueprint?
The Holman study notes provide a really profound theological synthesis for this.
Okay, let's hear it.
This meticulous, almost obsessive organization wasn't just practical logistics for moving a lot of people, it was deeply symbolic
Symbolic of what?
of creation itself. Think back to the narrative of Genesis chapter 1.
Okay, the creation story.
Right. The text portrays God stepping into a void that is formless, dark, and chaotic, and bringing perfect, beautiful order to it.
He separates light from dark, land from sea.
He establishes boundaries. And in ancient Near Eastern thought, the desert wilderness is the ultimate symbol of chaos.
Because it's dangerous, it's formless, it's deadly.
Exactly. And right in the middle of that swirling chaos, this encampment is established.
Oh, wow.
The symmetry, the unity, the strict boundaries, it acts as a microcreation. It evoked splendor and awe.
So the layout of the camp is an extension of that same creative act from Genesis.
Yes, it was a physical, visual statement to the surrounding nations and to the Israelites themselves. The text portrays God as actively ordering his people in the wilderness, just as he ordered the cosmos. He is conquering chaos through structure and presence.
That is incredible. So to the ancient reader, this layout wasn't just a map. It was a theological statement that order conquers chaos when the divine is at the center.
Precisely. Every single tent door in that camp faced inward toward the tabernacle.
So whether they were resting in the desert for months or marching through hostile territory, their entire orientation was focused on the divine presence.
Their lives literally revolved around it.
Which brings the focus directly to you, listening right now. Because it is easy to look back at an ancient, dusty encampment and just marvel at their architecture and strategy.
Right, as a historical curiosity.
But this text forces a much more personal examination. If the physical layout of this ancient camp perfectly reflected what they valued most, with the divine at the absolute, undeniable center of everything they did, resting or moving, what would a map of your daily life look like?
That's a great question.
If someone were to draw a blueprint of your time, your finances, your attention, and your energy, what is sitting right at the center of your camp?
What is the thing that everything else in your life is orbiting around?
Exactly. It is something profoundly worth mulling over this week. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Numbers chapter 2.
We hope it brought rich context and life to a text you might have otherwise skipped right past.
We really do. And before we go, as promised, I want to say goodbye by reminding you that God blesses you and he blesses all the listeners tuning in today. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.